We're looking at the life of Elizabeth I, and she is indeed a remarkable woman and came at a very important point in English history, reigning for 45 years after what had been a turbulent time, with the latter years of Henry VIII being quite unpredictable due to his health, followed by Edward VI, a young king who took England in a very strongly Protestant direction, and then he was followed by his sister Mary, who then reversed those changes and took England in a Catholic direction. During this time, young Elizabeth lived a precarious life. For some parts of the time during Henry's life, she was considered an illegitimate daughter. Then she was reconciled to the court, as it were, but never really had any time at court, because under Edward and Mary, her life was not in that way directed. She was, under Edward, brought up as a Protestant, and she learnt very well the languages of Europe. She was fluent in French, Italian, she was fluent in German and in Spanish, and she knew Latin and Greek. She was a very clever young lady, very artistic as well, with music, and a good horsewoman. And so she had a very well-rounded education, but it was not the sort of education that was going to prepare her to be queen, in that she had very little experience of court. And this was a particular case under Mary, where she was very often under house arrest, and at one point almost got to the point of being executed, because Mary was suspicious of Elizabeth as being a potential source of plots, particularly by Protestants. And so Elizabeth had to learn to be extremely cautious and keep her counsel so that she did not fall foul of Mary. Well, when Mary died, Elizabeth came to the throne at the age of 26. Somewhat unusually, and I suspect because of the threat that Mary felt Elizabeth posed, Elizabeth had never been married. And this is going to be a feature of her life, really, certainly the first half of her life, when her privy councillors, her parliament, etc., all wanted her to get married. And it's an interesting question, why didn't she get married? Well, Elizabeth comes to the throne, inexperienced at court, but obviously intellectually very capable. She brings to the throne another change of direction in terms of religion, which is a restoration of Protestantism. Though Elizabeth initially had no desires to hunt down Roman Catholics, she said she did not want to have windows into people's souls. And so her form of Protestantism was quite moderate. It must be remembered that across Europe there were great religious turmoils, often leading to battles and wars. And she inherited a country that was practically bankrupt and had no particular allies and quite a number of threats. So internationally, the situation didn't look good. Domestically, the situation didn't look good. And on top of that, she was a woman in a man's world, and so she would have felt, I suspect, some degree of vulnerability there. That she carved out an amazing reign over 45 years is a testament to her character and ability. How did she rule? Well, effectively, the first port of call was the royal court, about 500 people. And these were people who came and wanted to be seen in the presence of the Queen. And because the Queen was the centre of patronage, that is, she had jobs that she could give to people according to her whim, as it were. This was a way of ensuring that these 500 top people in the country kept, as it were, a very close eye on the Queen and kept in her good books, and she could, as it were, control their attitudes towards